What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with some more fantasy football content. Today, I am talking about the best value at each position in fantasy: QB, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Talking about where the my favorite values are at each position according to half point PPR average draft position today. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that like button on the video. Please help us out. Hit that sub button. Stick around for more videos doing fantasy profiles on a ton of players right now. Going to be doing most of the first, probably several rounds, first 5 rounds at least for sure. Maybe probably more. So yeah, you're going to stick around, watch those videos, hit that sub button. Let's hop right into it. So first up, we got Dak Prescott. So Dak averaged 27.7 points per game in 2020 in the 5 games he played, even though he got hurt with about 20 minutes to go in that his last game. So, but basically missed more a quarter plus, and he still averaged more points per game than any other quarterback did in football last year. No one averaged more points per game at any sample size than he did, and he played 5 games. Like I said, in 2019, his last full season, he finished as QB2 as well. So we've seen Dak really just dominate for fantasy for really the last 2 seasons we've seen him play. Last year, he took it to another level. This whole offense did. They added CD Lamb that helped them out a bunch. Last year, he was also dealing with a bunch of banged up offensive linemen. They weren't as banged up when he was playing, but Tyron Smith was still struggling with injuries at that point this season, I believe. Leo Collins missed the whole season, and Zach Martin was still playing then, but all 3 of them are going to be healthy this year. His 17-game pace last season he was on pace for 6,307 passing yards, and that includes, like I said, that injured game. Was really just on a tear last season. And that Dallas Cowboys defense is so bad, and I don't expect them to make a huge jump this season. That they're going to continue to need to put up points, and they have the offense to do it. So that's how they're going to have to win games. That's the game plan for the Cowboys. They're going to continue to do that. And Dak brings this rushing ability to your fantasy team that really helps even out. Even if, let's say, he's having a bad week, that rushing baseline, he's going to run for probably 300 yards every season right around. And he's running 6 rushing touchdowns multiple years. Last year in 5 games, he ran 3 touchdowns. The year before, he ran 3. That was a full season. Every year before that in his career, I believe he ran 6 rushing touchdowns. So he brings a lot with his legs as well. And that's what you want when you're drafting a quarterback. And I just think Dak is one of the elite options in fantasy. You can get him with a 5th-round pick. I feel like why risk on a Lamar Jackson when you could draft a Dak Prescott? And I feel like it's much more certain week to week. He doesn't give you the blow-up games that Lamar does necessarily, but when you can give him the 5th, that is a 5th quarterback taken, I love the value that you can get with Dak Prescott currently in drafts. And I'm taking him in the 5th or 6th round, wherever I can get him. All right, moving on to running back. Running back is Carson. In 2018, he finished as the RB15, averaging 13.7 points per game. In 2019, he finished as the RB11, averaging 14.3 points per game. And last season, 2020, finished as RB17, but averaged 14.1 points per game. He only played 12 games that season, so that's why he was finished at RB17 despite being, very productive. The encouraging thing about him that we've seen in recent years is the increased involvement in the passing game. We saw him in 2018 have 20 receptions. 2019, 37 receptions. And then last year, despite only playing 12 games, caught at 37 receptions still. So we've seen him become more involved in that passing game. And then we've seen them add some players to offensive line. They drafted Damian Lewis last year, who looked very good. They brought in some more offensive line help in free agency this year. I think their unit will be better than it has been. It's been a pretty bad unit most years. But this year they should be better. And they have a team focus on the running game. They're going to give Chris Carson the ball. They fired Brian Schottenheimer because he let Russ cook. And this year, they're going to let Russ simmer. They're going to run that ball. They're going to throw checkdowns to Chris Carson. But that offense with Russ, whenever Russ does pass, he's still going to be fantastic. He's still got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. This is an offense that's going to be very good, and you can get a workhorse back on it at the 19th running back taken. And even in his banged-up, injured years, he's never finished anywhere close to that, as low as that. I think he's going to get more touches than his last year. This is a guy who could give you another 14 points per game like he has most of his career. I think there's even a chance he ups it to about 15 points per game or more with that, as I said, that increased passing game involvement, that improved uh, offensive line, and that increased emphasis by the team on the run game. They're going to let Russ simmer. They're going to run this rock with Chris Carson this year. I really do believe it, and I think he's a great value with the 8th pick in the 3rd round, 19th running back taken. Next up, we've got Robby Anderson. Robby Anderson caught 95 passes last year, and he finished the season as wide receiver 24. He's currently being drafted as the 4th pick in the 8th round, wide receiver 35, and I think this is just too far down for him. I think he's a guy who's going to go up in final position, not down, honestly. He caught 95 passes that we saw, but he only caught 3 touchdowns in 2020. Most years he's going to get 6 or 7 touchdowns on that volume easily just by catching that many passes. I expect that number to go back up. And I really do think he has a chance to be the number 1 on this team. We saw DJ Moore been good for several years. He might be the more talented receiver. I still believe in Robby Anderson's talent a lot, but head-to-head, DJ Moore might be a little bit more talented. But, we've seen Sam Darnold already has a connection with Robby Anderson coming in that he doesn't have with DJ Moore. I think that's going to help them hit the ground running. He might lean on him a little bit more. And we saw Robby Anderson's reception numbers were so high last year. I think he's going to get more down the field targets with Sam Darnold than he did with Teddy Bridgewater, which I think could help out his yards as well. I think there's a lot of upside in him. I think he's a fairly safe player where you're taking him currently in the 8th round as well. He's a guy I love to draft as my 2nd or 3rd receiver, and I feel really, really good about it going into my drafts. If I go RB heavy, I snag Dak early, and I can grab Robby Anderson later in the draft as my 2nd wide receiver and stack a bunch of running backs. I love the drafting a team like that, or as a depth piece, he's still a great option. Really like Robby Anderson and where he's going in drafts at this point. Next up, we got Dallas Goedert. He's going at the 904 right now. Currently be the 10th tight end taken. Now, the reason that when we talk about him is I don't think there are many big targets to take targets in Philly. I know that sounds weird, but there are no. Who is the number 1 receiver on that team? Probably Devonta Smith. They drafted Jalen Reagor, a rookie in the 1st round last year, didn't produce much. I really don't see, I think Devonta Smith probably gets 130 targets, something like that. But, there's still a lot of targets to go out there. I think that Dallas Goedert could soak up a ton of those targets. Last year, with Zach Ertz being there as well, and Zach Ertz is expected to not be on the team, I would guess, when the season starts, Dallas Goedert's on 17-game pace for over 800 yards last season, which is pretty darn good, and he had 50-something targets. Missed games, but didn't get a ton of targets either way. I think there's a real chance that he's a shot at 100 targets this year with the passing game options that they have. And if he gets that, I think he could be absolutely dynamite. We've seen him. I think he's a good tight end. He looks good when Zach Ertz is missed. Now it's his time to shine, and there aren't a lot of people that steal those targets away from him. I think he could be the 2nd option on the team and maybe the 1st option in the red zone. He's 6'5", great at making those spectacular catches. Real athletic guy. I think there's a lot of upside for Dallas Goedert. I love taking him as a 10th tight end because of his opportunity to succeed this year. If you're going to punt tight end, he's one of the ones I love to grab late. And he gives you a chance of, that top 5 upside that could really help your team out. If you guys have made it to this point in the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below to stick around for more videos. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below and I will respond. Thank you guys for watching. This is Fantasy Joe. See you guys.